circulation, and they just pull the socks down without getting their fingers in there and opening them up, can pull the whole epidermis right off their leg.
I had one lady that was like that. She had a special cast on. It wasn't a sock. Like it wraps around them, and then you put a sock over that. Yeah. She had some gnarly skin tears.
Yeah, and it won't grow back. It doesn't reattach. They just have this big, ugly scar afterwards. So if you become a CNA before you get into the nursing program, and you get into that with older people, be very careful. A lot of them will slip and fall, and it'll just rip the skin right off their arm, or right off their palms of their hands. Okay, so you just got to be really careful. Their skin is very delicate and fragile. It can really be torn apart. Okay, so those ridges are there to help not only give fingerprints, but also to help the skin from tearing apart from each other. Okay, what type of connective tissue is in the papillary region? And what type is in the reticular? Dense irregular. Why is it irregular? Yeah. Well, how are the fibers arranged in the dense irregular? In all directions. Your skin gets pulled on, tugged, and moved in how many directions? All directions. All directions. Would it be advantageous to have dense regular? Where you just have in one direction? All the fibers in one direction? Not if you're going to be pulling on all directions of the skin, right? You want that strength in all directions of those fibers around. What else does the dermis layer do? If it has blood vessels in there, what does it have the ability to do?
Regulate heat.
Thermoregulate, exactly. And if you want to become warmer, what does the vessels have to do?
Constricts and holds it in.
Vasoconstrict. And if you want to release heat?
Opens them up.
Vasodilate. Very good. Okay, we'll talk about vasoconstriction dilation, I think, just a little bit. But, that picture.
Page what?
This one. That's about 10 times in the book. I think it's figure 5.01 in your book. It has all the labels on it. It'd be a good one to know, because you will, here it takes this part and then this part and then this part, but to get one single picture all together, because you will be able to need to label all these different parts of this picture.
That's in the book.
Yeah, it's in the book, in the Tortura, in the book no one brings. It looks like this.
I opened it once.
Okay. It's a good question. I don't know. It's figure 5.1. I think it's like 170 something, 180 something, or another. It's chapter 5, figure 5.1. It's right at the beginning of chapter 5. Okay. That would be a good one to know. Subcutaneous level. What does it consist of? Adipocytes and areolar connective tissue. What is another name we call the subcutaneous? Sub-Q. Where do a lot of people, I don't know how do I do this? If you're going to get it's a place where a lot of shots, injection site is in the sub-Q. So I might ask a question, what part of the skin do most injections reach, or where do most injections go into? Maybe the subcutaneous is where most injections, the site of most common site of injections. Okay. What is the purpose of the sub-Q other than getting shots?
Protection.
Protection. Okay. What's that?
Like thermal.
Thermal, yeah. Thermal regulation, insulation, protection of the tissues and organs underneath it. Stores energy. Okay, very good. And how does it store energy? In what form? Triglycerides and cholesterol. Very good. Okay. We talked about the sensory organs in the dermis. We talked about the Meissner corpuscles, talked about the Merkel discs, Pacinian corpuscles. But what are the free nerve endings? What do they do? Pain, temperature, itch, and one more. Hair movement. Okay. What's really cool about these things is every single nerve ending can only do one sensation. So if you have 4 different sensations that it has here, you have 4 different axons, each with their individual specialty, you might say. Okay. I don't think it talks about it in here. Did he talk about it in class when it goes from temperature to pain? I don't think the body can. I'm trying to think the temperatures. I could be off on this, but I think it's below -20 and above 120 degrees Fahrenheit. You feel no temperature. You cannot feel a temperature above that. It's where pain receptors kick in its place. So if you touch something over 120 degrees, you don't feel it as hot. You feel it as pain. Or if it's so cold at 120 degrees, 10 might be 10, I don't remember exactly what it is, but under, you don't feel cold. It feels pain. Okay. So you can only, temperature can only go through a certain range, and above and beyond that range is you get pain receptors activated instead of temperature receptors. Which I think is actually pretty cool, if you think about it. It's a mechanism to kind of protect yourself. So you don't fry your hand thinking, oh, that's kind of warm. On the stove or so. Be able to identify those pictures as well as know what they do on 364. So be able to pick out what a Pacinian corpuscle looks like, what a Merkel disc looks like, what a Meissner looks like, free ending look like, as well as know what they do. Okay.
I know we talked about this in class, but isn't there like a disease or something that you don't have any of these?
It's the pain. The free nerve endings for pain are either not connecting to the nervous system or they're just not there. And people can go and not feel pain at all.
Right, so they can touch one of those and not feel anything.
And put their hand on a stove, and the only reason they know they have their hand on a stove is that they smell the skin burning.
And that's just the free nerve endings.
That's the free nerve endings, right?
I mean, we don't feel pain at all?
They don't feel pain at all. No. You go online and there's this little girl that was rubbing her eye and she almost pulled her eye out because she started rubbing it so hard and almost stuck her finger through her eye because there was no pain. Didn't feel anything. She felt itch because that's a different pain receptor. That's different than pain. That's a different free nerve ending. Okay, but the pain itself, she couldn't. You start pushing on your eye. Eventually, itch goes away and it starts to feel pain. She couldn't feel pain. She had her friends hitting her with a 2x4 as hard as they could in the chest, in the arm, in the back. Thought she was Superwoman because she didn't feel any pain. Well, she was breaking ribs. She was puncturing lungs. She was, severing her kidneys and popping her vein. Damaging really hard, really damaging the inside of her. But she didn't feel any pain because she had no pain receptors.
So you can have itch and stuff, but you can't have.
Because they're different nerve endings. They're still free nerve endings, but they're different nerve endings themselves. So each sensation has its own nerve ending, has its own axon, has its own receptor. So yeah, there are diseases out there where you feel absolutely no pain. Just to walk around with a helmet.
Are there ones that you don't feel like itch?
Why walk around with a helmet? Just dress up like Batman.
I've never heard that. I've never heard of pain, but.
Yeah, I haven't either, but yeah, it could be a entire, all the free nerve endings, or it could just be pain nerve endings, depending on the disease. I'm not sure which one it is, but yeah. So, she knocked her teeth, as she was a kid, she was biting through the skin when she was teething. They had to knock all her teeth out, take her teeth out when she was teething, because she was chewing through her fingers. Because there was no pain. She was sucking on them and chewing on them. You know, kids or babies, they just chew, start chewing through her fingers. There's no sucking on the thumb. She was actually eating her thumb.
Did they say what causes that? Like, they have
It's
no
a
idea?
genetic
It's
disease
genetic.
where the nerve endings don't develop. So yeah, it's pretty important to have them. We definitely need them.
So that is passed on? That disease is passed on?
I don't know if it's passed on or if it's something that's just a freak accident, like Down syndrome,
Albinoism, maybe.
albinism. It could be that it is an autorecessive gene. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know enough to tell you about it, but I do know it does exist. Okay. What else is in the dermis? We talked about nerves. We talked about blood. We talked about the muscles. What really haven't we talked about? Glands. Skin glands, you're there. All right, how many different types of skin glands do we have? Two major skin glands. One that secretes what?
Oil.
Oils, or waxy, I'm going to say waxy, sebum. And that's what? Sebaceous. Okay. And the other one secretes sweat. Okay. How many types of sweat glands do we have? Two. Eccrine and apocrine. Okay. What does eccrine mainly do? Right. Thermal regulation. It's pretty much when you're working out and you start sweating, that's the eccrine glands working. Okay. Where do we find those? Everywhere, except trick question. They are everywhere. Right. They're over all the surface of this, overall the entire body. Okay. Do you know why you leave fingerprints? Sweat from the ridges, all the ridges of your fingerprint.